Exploring the unknown. From conspiracies to mysteries, you are entering the conspiracy sector.
Well, welcome everyone to this very special program. I'm your host, Aubrey Batchelor, and joining me, co-hosting this amazing ship of knowledge, is Chris Jacobs, and you are entering the conspiracy sector. Today, we have a real doozy for you. We're 3 months into the new year, 3.5 months into the new year to be exact, and we've seen quite a bit go on emotionally, physically, spiritually. I know that I can't be the only one that's been completely worn out in each and every one of those aspects. Why? Because of the times that we are currently living in. It's really chaotic. I know everybody's stressed out. Everybody's pushed to the max in all those aspects, mentally, physically, spiritually. Everybody is bombarded on a daily basis. So that's where, it's easier said than done. Even, I've tried to practice what I preach, but we have to try to put more time and effort into ourselves in order to survive these weird times. And today is a very, very amazing topic that really hits home during these weird times. A lot of people think that this book is coming to fruition. A lot of people think that we are currently living in an Orwellian nightmare. That's all I need to say. 1984, George Orwell is going to be the topic today, and how we are currently living in such said times. Let me just say 3 things to you from the book. War is peace, freedom is slavery, and ignorance is strength. We're told one thing and it's the exact opposite, Mm-hmm. Chris, just look at the times that we're living in. Have you not seen many, many, many things that we can relate to an Orwellian nightmare?
Oh, most definitely. Seeing a lot of cancel culture, redacted history, for one, the BLM group trying to get rid of our history, if they consider it racist, seeing people being made to act a certain way, like with the masks, having to social distance, stay in a line, very much like, and that, everybody had to act the same, look the same. It's Big Brother, dictating what you do.
Go along with the herd.
Go along with the herd. But the one thing they don't realize is herd immunity will get rid of COVID. That's the conundrum right there. But,
yeah, just, own personal opinion, masking up is masking the true problem at play, Everybody wants to go different directions and do all these different things and create all these different conflicts and different ways of everything. It's creating too much different everything. So I can see how, we could be transitioning into a completely controlled little society. So we are all ultimately easier pulled along in that such said herd.
Yeah, exactly. The mask has become a symbol for that oppression. And also, I always call it a religious artifact, where people on both sides, either the detractors or the people in favor of it, are focusing on it. And it has become like a cursed object that has become the symbol of the entire movement.
And see, that's the thing. It's been the worshiping behind the mask more than anything. Are they effective? In a minute way, probably. Are they excellent germ preventers? Yes. Obviously there's some data there, but is it the number one thing that's stopping COVID-19? I think that's a highly, highly, highly loaded and over-exaggerated statement.
Yes, it's extremely highly exaggerated. I've been in places where you don't think about it, and you walk into a place without a mask. You don't really think about it.
The false sense of power that it's given to people. Put on a mask, or else you ain't welcome in here. You ain't welcome here.
They do that all the time. They act like they're going to beat you up over it and everything, and it's like in simple situations, like if you're refusing to do something, they lump it with, oh, so you're refusing to follow the law. It's like, no, I'm just saying no to this. Yeah.
It reminds me of that one South Park episode where that panda bear tries to get a drink at the bar. Hey, panda bears aren't welcome in here.
And that's the direction they're trying to go with this, with race and everything.
Anybody that ain't wearing a mask ain't welcome around these parts. You hear me?
Yeah, exactly. They're trying to get people divided over this subject, race, everything, where racism.
Exactly. It's one more thing to argue over, one more thing to divide people over, one more thing to create conflict. And people buy into it. Don't buy into the fear. Don't buy into the conflict. Don't buy into it. It's going to brainwash you. It's going to sap you down emotionally, physically, spiritually, drain you even more than what has been going on so far. So if you want to completely dig yourself out of that hole, then you're going to have to realize how you're being manipulated and how you're being drugged down that alleyway. And, it takes self-research, with whatever you're surrounded with in your life, wherever you live, you're going to have to learn how to better yourself in such said area. Everybody has a different situation. So you're going to have to look on the whole scheme of things, learn how you're being manipulated in whatever area of your life that you believe that you are, and try to better yourself in such said way. So,
yeah, focus on yourself first. See what happens is people think, oh, they have to lend their energy to this or lend their energy to that. When you improve the self, that has a ripple effect outward and can change all of these other variables, like the thing with the masks. Like people go along with this going, well, I guess this is in order to keep the peace, or in order to, we just have to go along with this, we just have to keep going along with this, and it might end that way. No, you start changing things from him, you start noticing things around you, it begins to have this ripple effect through the ethers and begins to alter the environment at a fundamental level, on a code-based level.
Okay. Okay. You said it right there. I have to interrupt. Alter the environment. That leads me to my next quote in 1984. Who controls the past controls the future. Who controls the present controls the past.
Exactly. That goes along with the BLM side trying to take away our history, and then trying to control the present. They're controlling the past, and by controlling the past, they're controlling what our future becomes. So this is why we have to take control in the present moment, remain in the present moment, and completely alter the energetic environment around us.
And yes, there's so much division in this world. If we can come together and we can learn the past together and we can create a better future together, I believe that's the key to a utopian paradise that we all innately and subconsciously reach out to. And I think a lot of us kind of fake thinking that will become a reality in our lifetime. I mean, I would like that, if we had a world where everybody could get along, and that's what we all dream and aspire for. Well, how come we don't make it happen?
Exactly, like in our past.
I mean, there's a million words that we can go through, but we'll digress into that. It's a later point.
Yeah.
But who controls the past controls the future. Who controls the present controls the past. And like I said, if you don't learn from history, you're doomed to what, Chris?
You're doomed to repeat it. Yeah. And this goes to an interesting point, though, that I discovered when I was doing a session not too long ago, where there were these different alien groups that were attempting to, that were posed as gods in our ancient past, where they were basically taking bets on how they could divide humanity. And they were very shocked when humanity united. They were able to beat back these different alien and also governmental groups in the ancient past. See, this is why history keeps repeating it, so people see what's going on. You see, when humanity united, these groups took a step back. They were afraid of it at that point. So they knew if we got together and worked together, no matter what race we were, no matter what religion and everything, which is what happened. Even further back, if you go back to the whole Tower of Babel thing, when all the languages were separated and all the cultures were separated. Prior to that, everybody was one massive culture. So these groups came in, divided everybody on that level. Yeah. Yeah,
I feel you there. And I kind of get that, looking in ancient history, talking about history, while there was division because we weren't interconnected like we were nowadays, there was more brotherhoodly groups, that were more close knit. And, I know that, when you discover each other, that would be bound to create some sort of division. If you went to one area of the globe and you just seen this one new race of people that you never seen before, it'd probably be a shell shock. I understand that. But at the same time, there was more brotherhood groups in the past that, you really could develop an amazing, safe environment, where everybody put forth effort to achieve and succeed, I guess. And now we're in modern times, but I guess it's more of a selfish driven need to succeed, which, everybody needs to be successful. But, I think on the whole scheme of things, we're more separated, even though we're more interconnected than ever before.
Yeah. It's even though we have the internet interconnecting us, you need that interpersonal connection. You need to be around other people. You need to be unified.
Yes,
in that way. Yeah,
exactly. You said it right there. You hit the nail right on the head. What has social distancing done? Yes, if it's a big bad bear that's running at you in the woods like this big bad virus, then you need to separate for an extended amount of time. But look at the other baggage that COVID-19's brought along with depression, anxiety. I mean, that's just two words. Like I said, we can probably come up with 100 of them. Hard times, hardships, poor. Which other one do you want to come up with? Having to live on a budget, all these different expressions that everybody has to go through, everybody struggles with. There's another word for you, which leads me into another topic, newspeak, the elimination of words. That was a thing. Why eliminate words? To dumb people down on the whole scheme of things. The less words you remember, that's a less brain capacity that you need. And, I was thinking, Chris, why don't we start creating our own new version of newspeak? I want to cancel words like excellent or grand or great or amazing. And then on the flip side of things, we could cancel words like horrible or disgusting or horrendous. And we could replace them with simply good, extra good, ungood, or extra ungood.
Start dumbing the language down even further.
In fact, I'm calling out right now to ban the word excellence. I'm calling out to ban the word amazing. I'm calling out to ban the word horrible and the word disgusting and replace them with the words good and ungood and extra ungood.
Yeah, there you go.
In fact, why not? I think it's a good idea. We might as well get in on the movement.
Yeah, or like having instead of less stuff, having more stuff.
Oh, that's an extra more good grand idea. Oh, wait, grand's banned. Oh, I just had a thought crime.
There you go. What happened was, in order to dumb people down, in order to dumb down the language, what happened was in 1964, when they had the World's Fair in New York, Werner von Braun and his Nazi cohorts at that time activated what's known as the binary network, which then eventually turned into what we know of as 5G now. And they started to create this dumbing field, this AI dumbing field, to keep people more like in a 3D mindset instead of evolving. They keep them in more of a worker mindset. And more of an obedient mindset. And this is why you had the onset of all these different technologies like 4G, 5G, all of that to keep people in the controlled mindset. People think it started with 5G. It started with the original back in '64 at the World's Fair. And the reason they did it at the World's Fair, the Nazis that survived World War II were basically saying, look at all the things you're never going to be create because you're not going to be smart enough. We're going to dumb you down to the point where you're not going to be smart enough. And so therefore they get you to the point where it's like Orwell's 1984 over several generations. So you get it that way over several generations where people it's just an everyday thing, like paying taxes, for instance. When they implemented income tax, I believe it was World War I and they brought it back in World War II and they kept it. It was originally to pay the war fund, but they figured, okay, we're getting money from this. We'll keep it over a couple of generations and people will just think it's an everyday thing in life. Yeah, and so people get used to it, kind of like a bad smell being in the room. They get used to it, and it's there. Just so they're hoping the thing with the masks, they're hoping the thing with social distancing and everything just stays as a new normal, even though I detest that term, new normal. I always say conspiracy theorists are the new normal. No. So yeah, that's why they're doing that, and they're saying, okay, this is the new normal now. This is this, and this is, and they're trying to gradually turn it into 1984. That's what they're doing.
And speaking of new normal, what if I told you, or actually, Chris, why don't you answer it for me? What is 2 + 2?
4.
No, it's not. Boom. What is it?
1.
It's
I don't
5.
know. 5. Yeah. Oh yeah. Because oh yeah. Okay, I see what you're getting at.
You got it. You got it.
Yeah.
In the end, the party would announce that 2 and 2 made 5, and you would have to believe it. It was inevitable that they should make that claim sooner or later. The logic of their position demanded it. Not merely the validity of the experience, but the very existence of the external reality was tactically denied by their philosophy. So, they're going to force you. And this is where, in the book, everybody that knows the book, read it. We're kind of we're going in and out of the book. If you haven't, I know that everybody's aware of 1984, at least most people are. Mm-hmm. So please read the book. It's very amazing. You're going to see how it can really relate to today's world. And for most of you that are listening that do know the book, you're going to know what we're relating to. So
it's been a while since I've actually looked at it. And this actually goes to something else that's popped up recently in the movie world with Wonder Woman 1984. This is something people will find fascinating. I did a small recording I can also tack on to the end of the show as well with that. Like you have the hashtag that appeared on all the websites and on the commercials for it, where it's hashtag WW84. Well, you do that numerologically, the 84 eventually turns into a 3. World War III. The plot in the movie, if anybody hasn't seen it yet, I'm sorry, but I'm going to explain this, where basically it has to do with basically making wishes that have consequences in the world and eventually bringing about a World War III type scenario in 1984. It basically one man gaining a bunch of power over people with a magic crystal is what it is, where he's stealing people's basically their abundance and giving it to himself. And what happens is when they revoke that wish, that whole World War III timeline disappears. When they revoke connecting and entangling with that idea, it disappears. And when they notice the stuff that's going on, and I'm talking about real world type stuff now, if people would notice what's going on, all of that vanishes. When people see what's going on, it vanishes. It's just like if you observe a subject, if you're watching a subject, you can alter the form of a subject. That's something in science they talk about quite often. It's an experiment that was run. If you view a subject, you can alter its path. It's because you're watching it. So therefore, if people see and notice something, they alter the course of history, is what they're doing. They reclaim our future. You reclaim the present, you're reclaiming our future.
Chris, you and I are having another synchronistic conversation. And please, people, you don't have to do a 180 on the subject, but listen to his ending in my next question. This is synchronicity. All right. You'll pick up off of synchronicities in your life if you understand them. They could be simple things like just you could be thinking of the word red and then a red car goes by. Whatever's going on in your life, you could be thinking of a loved one, then 30 seconds later they call. Yesterday, I was literally just thinking of Chris, thinking of him, thinking about writing him. I guess it would have been Monday. Sorry, it's already Wednesday. Time got away from me. Monday, I was thinking of Chris. He's never called me on my new phone yet. I was thinking about writing him on Facebook. Then literally within 3-4 minutes, he calls me after I'm having those thoughts. That's synchronicity. And I just don't want to use him as an example. He was one of the most recent. I can give you a million other examples, but that's not what this show is about. We're going to have a special episode on synchronicities. It's going to be amazing. But just remember that advice. So sorry for the interruption, but remember what he said last. He's talking about remembrance. He's talking about being able to remember things. He's talking about things of that nature. And this leads into the next question, which is in 1984. And when memory failed and written records were falsified, when that happened, the claim of the party to have improved the conditions of human life had got to be accepted, because there did not exist and never again could exist any standard against which it could be tested. So it's about altering history. Mm-hmm. It's about falsifying records to make you believe a certain way, to make you, to brainwash you into believing a certain way. And look, there's so many, there's so many examples of that. We literally could have a 24-hour long show, and we should, Chris, sometime. After we get a big following, I promise everybody, if we get a lot of viewers, we'll try to have a 24-hour long, what should we call it? Freak fest, to where we could talk about everything under the sun.
We would beat the last show I saw out there that had a 12-hour super show one time. There was a show I saw on someone's website once where they went for 12 hours straight with several interviews back to back as they went along, and that's the longest thing I've seen.
Welcome to the Conspiracy Sector 12-hour super show, bro.
But yeah, the redaction of history is getting ridiculous. You have to learn from history. You can't just cancel it out. And even if it's something horrible, something racist, something degenerate, something really bad, you have to keep that in place so that humanity doesn't drift back into that mindset again. They can't. They have to have a remembrance place to have a margin of error, pretty much. Like with the Nazis, for instance. Getting rid of them, even though there are space Nazis and they invited them over here. That's another story altogether. That's another show altogether, the space Nazis. But there's
so much stuff that's gone on that's freaky. I mean,
yeah, that's
so
a
much.
show. But with this though, this is why you see a lot of that being redacted. They're trying to erase their own footsteps so they can reinvent themselves again. In the form of like a hero, is where we say they played the villain. Now they're coming in as the hero. So,
yep. You couldn't have said it any better, Chris. Where do they reside in the book? At the Ministry of Love. There's no love there. There's only misery. Then they brainwash you into thinking it's love. Then they put that's what they do to you after they change you back into believing in the book. I don't want to be extreme in real life because we haven't came to that point yet, but there's just signs of it. There's harbingers of it, which harbingers is another topic, that we can talk about, but it all kind of comes in every topic that we're talking about that we say is another topic. Really, it's all a part of one, we're all living in it. Whatever all this is, all the different theories, all the different beliefs, whatever it is that we're floating in and doing right now in the present moment, we're all living in it. So what's ever happened, whatever's been fabricated, whatever's really honestly happened, we've all been a part of, whether we've known about it or not. So really, is it different topics? Yes, but in a sense, it's all part of one thing. There's a real mind bender for you, isn't it?
Yeah, putting it all right next to each other. Like, if this is what the bad guys don't want you to do. They don't want you to compare facts and figures from different areas of the world, different shows, different TV shows that have popped up about this, different books. They don't want it under one roof, because if you put it under one roof, people can look through it easier, and their brain can decode it easier if it's under one roof. The same goes with people. If you divide people and you don't realize we're all one, it causes war. But under one roof, you see us all as one. And as the law of one would state, when one is harmed, all are harmed. One are helped, all are helped. So therefore, if you don't realize that fundamental fact, then you'll war with each other and harm yourself by harming others. So therefore, you put everything under one roof, informationally, people, everything like that, see it as one planet, then these bad guys have no foothold at all.
Interesting. Good information there, homeboy. And another perfect timing. And as the final quote in this section takes place, and perhaps you might pretend afterwards that it was only a trick and that you just said to make them stop and didn't really mean it. But that isn't true. At the time when it happens, you do mean it. You think there's no other way of saving yourself, and you're quite ready to save yourself that way. You want it to happen to the other person. You don't give a damn what they suffer. All you care about is yourself. So it comes to a point, if you and another person are being tortured to death, and the person that's torturing one of you two to death is only going to torture one of you two, and he or she or whatever creature chooses you, aren't you going to be saying, oh, no, do her or him or do them first? I mean, it's about self-greed, basically, that statement. Thoroughly within all of us, I guess you could call it the art of survival, too. We all just need to survive. We have this innate ability to survive. And I think that's what truly kind of keeps people awake, in a sense. That's the last thing to go in a person, is their sense of true survivability for themselves. That's the last connection before they're totally brainwashed, I think, is what he's getting at, I think.
Yeah, what happens is they divide within the self first. If they can divide the self, they can divide the crowd. What happens is they get you to believe things in opposition, different rules in opposition, like just like with the race thing that's going on, they get you to feel guilty about being white, for instance. No, what happens also is they try to divide the beliefs within the self. They try to get you to, taking care of yourself is selfish. Well, not necessarily. You might you have to give yourself permission to be selfish on occasion, but at the same time, you think of everybody around you as well. But first, ground and repair yourself first, then you can repair the environment around you. They're trying to get people to think that taking care of the self is wrong, but it actually isn't. And also, they're getting people to be unemotional, unempathetic towards other people. I've even found myself doing this with people that have been so programmed. I found myself, not caring whether they lived or died on occasion too, because they've been so ruthless against us in particular. And that's also part of the trick. That's part of the trick, where they're trying to get one side to be unempathetic and then the other side to be unempathetic, like the pro-COVID versus anti-COVID, where one side says, "Oh, you're risking lives. We don't care about you," and then the anti-maskers go, "Well, we don't care about you. You're hurting the planet." Stuff like that. And then it divides further that way. They go with the self first, and then they expand it to the crowd.
And like another little quote here says, the heresy of heresies was common sense. That you want people having common sense, in the book. Why? Because the less knowledge, the better, the more easily controlled you are. And, I don't think it's that extreme in today's world, obviously, but the hints of the story is always keep learning and keep growing your mind in some which way, shape, or form, no matter what subject material you're reading, or trying to learn. Just try to grow that knowledge in superhumanistic ways and try to advance yourself to the next level. I guess that's some of the best advice I can give in relation to that topic. But you can see it happening, though. You can just see the common sense thing vanishing from many people. And that's very frustrating when simple things like that start to vanish. You're like broken society syndrome. I call that BSS. Is that a possibility? Maybe.
Oh yeah, common sense isn't all that common. It's where you just see this lack of critical thinking skills. And I know you have to also think from the heart, or bring out from the heart as well. But you have to be able to have heart and mind in tandem with one another. If you go fully heart, you don't have the thinking capacity. If you go fully cranial, you're not going to have the heart. Well, if you lack common sense, you're going to make stupid mistakes, and then it causes more division. Then you have the other side that also still remains smart, looking at the other ones that have dumbed down, going, "You're inferior to us," and then it ends up that over time. And by declaring one side stupid and one side smart, you're creating more of a division. You're creating more stupid if you're declaring stupid, and so therefore that's why unity is more important than that type of division, even though you can clearly see there are stupid people. I understand the contradiction in terms, but because I see it every single day. But at the same time, you got to learn not to react to the stupid. Therefore, the stupid eventually fades away. But at the same time, you can't be non-cognizant of the stupid. You have to keep it in check and make sure you're always in common sense. You keep common sense yourself and not fall into that. Yeah. And
we've all fallen into that trap. We all fall into that trap eventually.
I'm guilty of the same. Yeah.
Oh yes. And this is one of the quotes that I like the best, to be honest, because it's pretty heavy. It goes, "Nothing was your own except the few cubic centimeters inside your skull, and the world that we're advancing ourselves into of less privacy and more intrusion in, mainly the technological aspect, probably in every direction which that can go, I mean, from your household items to your vehicles to aircraft to recording devices to video cameras to police equipment, which a lot of it could be grand, good things as long as it's being used for the right purposes.
Oh yeah,
but for intrusion and everything along that line, that's not right. Hopefully it doesn't come to that, but we'll see.
Yeah, all you truly own, he's correct, all you truly own is this and this. Everything else is just more of an illusion. And while you mold that, and discard that illusion and turn it into a good reality at that point, this is basically all you truly own right here. And if you discard that illusion that they're trying to implement on you, that illusion's starting to disintegrate already with people's will for change and people beginning to unify. Once that's gone and you have 2 feet firmly on the ground, then you start to build a new firm foundation on that unity, on that brotherhood is essentially what it is. But in the beginning, all you truly own is this, like what he's saying, and also the heart space as well. That's essentially all you really.
And that's what you go out with too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's exactly what you go out with. They always say you can't take it with you. I always say, why bother gathering that much stuff when you're not going to take it with you? Now, if you take joy and that's your passion to have a certain types of stuff around, yeah, but it's still a reflection of your essence. It's still a reflection of you. Like if you collect things, for instance, it's still a reflection of you, or if you hoard, that's still a reflection
all of your interests.
Huh?
Like all of your personal interests and things of that nature.
Yeah, exactly.
Like Jeff Gordon fan and John Deere collection.
Yeah, and I have crystals, I have like mystical objects like that mask back there, and stuff like that. So yeah, that's a reflection of you, but it's still here. It always was here. So that's just a reflection of you. And also hoarders, like if people hoard and it becomes like a program, that's a program that's of something that's still they have to fix in here. So that it's a reflection outward of what's inside. So if people are hoarding and cluttering and stuff, that's a reflection of not only outward manipulation that's affecting you, but it's some problem that's inside too. That's what I've learned over the years. Like if something is amiss in the house, it's usually within the self. And so he's very correct. This is all you own right here and also here. So that one I can say is absolutely correct.
I feel you on that. We all dance to the beat of our own drums. So boom, 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 boom. I'll read a little article here.
All right.
It's from sorry I can't broadcast. I'm still looking to get a new monitor. I'll get on that. I had a very hectic, I know we all have, but no excuse. I've been through so much this first quarter of 2021. So much.
We've all been slammed. Yeah.
Oh, I've been drugged down to every bottom. I ain't kidding you. And just been so super stressed that, I see a doggy creeping in here. Stella. She comes to cheer me up, though. She is a good girl. You want to say hello, Stella?
Yeah, he has several Shih Tzus. So
yeah,
she's a sweet girl. Yeah.
You're so high. But yeah, this is from thoughtco.com. Newspeak is the deliberately ambiguous and contradictory language used to mislead and manipulate the public. In this general sense, the term newspeak is usually not capitalized. In George Orwell's dystopian novel 1984, published in 1949, newspeak is a language devised by the totalitarian government of Oceania to replace English, which is called Old Speak. Newspeak was designed, says Jonathan Green, to shrink vocabularies and eliminate subtleties. Green discussed how the new Newspeak differs in method and tone from Orwell's Newspeak. Rather than shorten the language, it is indefinitely broadened instead of curt monosymbols. There are, let me scroll down here. There are mellifluous calming phrases designed to allay suspicion, modify facts, and divert one's attention from difficulties, hence making the language simpler.
Mm-hmm.
Examples and observations. Newspeak occurs whenever the main purpose of language, which is to describe reality, is replaced by the rival purpose of asserting power over it. Newspeak sentences sound like assertions, but their underlying logic is the logic of the spell. They show the triumph of words over things, the futility of rational argument, and also the danger of resistance. Orwell on Newspeak, this is his actual quotes. The purpose of Newspeak was not only to provide a medium of expression for the worldview and mental habits proper to the devotees of Ingsoc, but to make all other modes of thought impossible. It was intended that when Newspeak had been adopted once and for all and Old Speak forgotten, a heretical thought that is a thought diverging from the principles of Ingsoc should literally be unthinkable, at least so far as thought is dependent on words. So certain things you can't even think of without being accused of something. And this is kind of the movement that we're going into. Mm-hmm. And, you know, hopefully it doesn't get to an extreme level like 100 years after we're vanished off of this planet. But
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that he couldn't have been any more true with the Newspeak. And this has been happening for centuries. You're dealing with beings that invaded this world hundreds of thousands of years ago and have rebooted humanity a couple of times. Atlantis was one of the last times they did, the times of Lemurian Atlantis. This was technically around the times of what would be the Tower of Babel that was depicted in the Bible, where I said the languages were separated. They separated the languages, took away the unified meaning of them, and then dumbed them down. This also happened. I found out that when we were in Japan, for instance, I found out there was a proto race called the Untumbans that fueled the Chinese and Japanese people. The Chinese Japanese people were, basically descendants of these particular people. And what happened was, mostly the Japanese, there was a certain language, what I called spherical thinking or spherical language, where the Untumbans had it. There's some of the Asgardian people had the precursor to our Viking ancestors. They had languages that encompassed entire ideas, had languages that encompassed, you could read them quantumly to where something could be spoken, something could be shown, and a symbol encompassed an entire world of ideas. Well, once the whole thing got divided, it divided and turned into multiple languages instead of being one unified empire, pretty much. And when these beings came in and invaded, when that happened, then you see even further down, like what you said with the Newspeak, that dumbs it down even further into just base simple ideas. You have English, which is more linear and linear ideas. Then you have this quantum speak, or this what I call spherical thinking or spherical type language, or quantum speak, or quantum light language, some people call it as well, where it encompasses etherics, it encompasses entire ideas, and it's basically also based in not only verbal, but telepathy as well. And that's something that's also been dumbed down as people's psychic abilities and telepathic abilities to be able to understand these things. Because it's heart space and mental, because it's been divided on a mental and heart space level.
I know that there's this supposed etheric field that your heart emits and encapsulates, with a 3-foot range of you. It can be measured with equipment, apparently. Mm-hmm. And for a fact, our brains contain little things called piezoelectric crystals. Yep. And what are crystals used for? Well, a lot of the times they're used for transmission. Simply, it can be explained. I have a TV remote here. We'll pretend my mug's my TV remote. I point it at the TV, it turns the volume up or it changes the channel. What's doing it? There's a little laser that's projecting that. What's projecting the laser? A crystal.
And also, I just heard Isaac say, you're saying the cup is the remote. Eventually, they'll try to convince people a shoe is a mouse to click on. That's how dumbed down they're trying to make it. I just heard him use the idea as a shoe to click on.
Click.
Yeah.
And then here, to finish up on this, it gives some examples. Newspeak versus the enemy of deceit. Words matter. Ask the Republican Party, some of whose members sought to eliminate certain words from a report by the Bipartisan Financial Crisis Inquiry Commission, including deregulation, shadow banking, interconnection, and even Wall Street. When Democratic members declined to participate in such selective wordplay, the GOP members issued their own report without the words that might have caused sensitive readers to recoil or that might have impacted parties. Republicans wish not to be implicated. More concerning than the limits of sharing or the boundaries of transparency are the intentional manipulations of language to obscure truth. Totalitarians throughout history have relied on writing and speaking badly, that is, without clarity, to keep the masses confused and captive. Clarity, the enemy of deceit, is anathema to authoritarians everywhere. Then the axis of evil. Consider the now famous phrase axis of evil, which was first used by President Bush in his January 29, 2002 State of the Union address. Bush characterized Iran, Iraq, and North Korea in an axis of evil, aiming to threaten the peace of the world. In reality, axis of evil is a term chosen to selectively stigmatize countries for the purpose of justifying military actions against them. The term has played an influential role in creating the frame through which the public has perceived the problem of terrorism and the question of whether to go to war with Iraq. Totalitarian semantic control. Newspeak is the product of the totalitarian control over semantics, history, and the media, more ruthlessly complete than any which has yet emerged in the modern world. In the West, the comparative freedom of the media has not necessarily clarified matters, whereas totalitarian semantic control may produce an unrealistic dogmatism. Free semantic enterprise has resulted in an anarchic tug of war, in which terms like democracy, socialism, and revolution become virtually meaningless because they are appropriated by all sections of litigation and abuse. So that was from Jeffrey Hughes, Word and Times, 1988. So there's been a lot of delves and dives since that book. In between now and that book, not even modern day society, there's been things that have come to fruition. Those are just some few examples. And Isaac, would you like to pick up off of that topic?
Yeah, he's saying yes. So yeah, I can definitely do that. There's one thing also I want to mention. There was a book, I believe it was Orwell also wrote, called Animal Farm, I believe it was as well. And he was talking about how, to sum it up, there was basically the manipulation of how past events were perceived and how the propaganda behind them, even though it was just a farm of animals, and they would focus on there was like some battle or something that took place on the farm, and as time went on, the details of that battle and the details of that event were skewed and then turned and flipped on their head to accommodate a new regime or a new generation of people, essentially. And they were essentially characterizing all the countries in the world that were involved in like the great powers and stuff like that, essentially, is what he was trying to say in like that farm. And I read that quite a while ago too, but yes. That
was it was a very interesting book. And movie, there's a movie that was animated that came out in I don't know if it was the 60s. I've watched it before. It's kind of a tearjerker in a way because it shows you, a lot of the things of how you're being truly, manipulated and taken advantage of. And it shows you the power structure of what's actually taking place and how, there's one level up here who's stomping on a person's head and another level up here who's stomping on a person, and the person up here is stomping on a person. There's a ladder of just continuing.
There's like this hierarchy that keeps going. Yeah, you think you're the tip of the spear and you're like,
I can't reach all the way up.
Yeah, you're way up here. Yeah.
It goes so high you can't reach the top. But at least, I know that I'll never have as much money as people like Jeff Bezos and everyone along that line.
I think people learn more when they
come. You never know. I shouldn't say that, and that'd be nice too.
Don't co-create that, but it also helps if you come from the poorer end of the spectrum and work your way up versus being born into this. Because the people that are born in this tend to be almost like the cabal people, and that's how the cabal people are. They inherit all this. But if you're born from the other end of the perspective, you're more grounded. You're completely more grounded in society and can see what's happening at ground level. The people up here don't get it. They don't get it at all. But Isaac, did you want to come in? Yeah, I felt when we were talking about Animal Farm, there was like this huge, huge.
Yeah, elaborate off of Animal Farm in 1984.
Yeah, let's see. Ooh. Okay, yeah. Speaking of crystals, we go back to crystals. This is the one I use for doing the channeling.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, this is
That looks nice.
yeah, this is the one. You have to have a big one like this in order to accommodate like the codes of the different beings coming through. This is also this is another area that's being dumbed down is knowledge about magic, knowledge about crystals, knowledge about different geometry and geometric magics, the as above, so below magic. All of it is being dumbed down and turned into mythology, while these sorcerers that work at the cabal and everything in the background use it against people. That's another topic altogether, is the war of magic happening in the background. Maybe we can touch on that at some point too. But Isaac, did you want to come through for a minute? Okay. Ooh, you're strong today. Okay, let's see. The reason you always see me drinking something during the shows is because when there's high energies, you get the cotton mouth and the dry throat. So
dehydrated.
yeah, it taps into the water, see, and it taps into those crystals in the brain as well, which is magnetite, calcite, and the third one is apatite. That's why having an apatite stone enhances your third eye skills, and magnetite, which I put in all of my orgone pieces. And a magnetic presence helps with that. Yeah.
By the way, thank you for that. I just got the little piece and put it on the mantle last night.
Yeah, I sent him everybody. I sent him a very enhanced orgone piece, one of my cupcake shaped ones. Yeah,
it looks very good. Everybody, he makes good ones. They're very, very cool. Very, very cool.
Okay, Isaac, you wanted to? Oh, okay, yeah, no. Okay, let's see. Okay, through the crystal, Isaac, not through my bag. Okay. Yes, everyone, this is a very interesting topic. I myself encouraged here to look at that Wonder Woman 84 scenario when he went to go see the movie. Regardless of what you think about it, if anyone has seen this, that is listening to this program, yes, it characterizes the entire, let's just say, revocable contract that is being played out amongst all of you. The revoking of the wishes is basically revoking all your ill intentions and ill focuses within this Orwellian concept. George Orwell was correct on all counts, because he was predicting the repeating pattern that would happen throughout history, not necessarily co-creating it. Some would think that he was co-creating a lot of this and worked for the cabal. This is not necessarily so. You would characterize him more of as a light worker that was attempting to warn ahead of time what was happening. Yes, does the cabal or do the cabal forces have to display what they're going to do ahead of time? Yes, but there are white hats out there that can do the same and show you what the very plan that these dark-hatted people and these dark magicians, let's just say, in the background can and will use. The implementation as above, so below, meaning a smaller micro version versus a larger macro version of an implemented plan, which you now see before you in these times. Do not fall into the situations by which they are displaying out in these books. Also, Animal Farm, for instance, whereas the Battle of the Cowshed, I believe it is called, in the book, or the incident of the cowshed, whatever you want to call it, is what is mentioned within the book by which facts are skewed from. You see, the cabal will create different events by which then they can control the narrative, such as your 9/11, for instance. They created this event by which then they could create propaganda and create a narrative behind, encircling both a villain and a hero, one side against another side. Axis of evil versus the good, you see, in this instance during that time frame post 9/11. It is happening right now with your mass culture, one side being right over the other side being wrong. And yes, there is a lack of common sense on the other side. This is not being denied. But when you engage that other side in open combat, let's just say, it then creates a bubble by which then they can come back at you. This is a form of what's known as gaslighting, you see. What that is they will be the aggressor, then by which they want you to fight back. Then they are saying they are being provoked. This is something that constantly is happening with this particular program. This is why you have people wearing the masks that are acting such violently over it. They are gaslighting you into fighting them, so therefore they get you to look bad, not only in the press, but get you arrested, you see. Law enforcement is on the side of this in some respects, not all of them. There are a lot of closeted ones out there that feel that a lot of these actions are wrong, and they will take the right appropriate actions given the correct timing and the correct energy inferences. And this, the concepts that Orwell has placed out there in both his 1984, which he's absolutely correct, and his adaptations of Animal Farm are also absolutely correct. He himself was part of a good faction, let's just say, that not only incarnated on your earth at that time in order to show people what was going to be truly going on and was truly going on, but also worked for an underground military faction, you would say, to show what was actually going on. This has been happening a lot longer than your current times. Your current times are reflecting most of all what he was attempting to speak about. Also in your cancel culture, most of all. Also your redaction of words and terms. This, you are living in the times that he was predicting. It started with 2020 with giving a greater threat to a very minor virus, giving you all the permission to basically take it all out of control, you see. All the fakery that was done in 2020, all the things you've learned about 2020, now in 2021, you are to implement what you've learned and make sure that this freight train that they are taking down the track, this contract that they have aligned with the etherics and the magics and time itself, make sure that it careens off the cliff and disappears into obscurity. This is where I can go into questions.
Okay, well, how about this quote? I want to know what you think of this quote. I just had it, and I don't know what I did with it. Let me get to it. Thought crime was not a thing that you could be concealed or that could be concealed forever. You might dodge successfully for a while, even for years, but sooner or later they were bound to get you. Can you dive into thought crime and how there's some ways that we're being bombarded on a daily basis?
Yes, thought crimes are very interesting on the concept thereof. You may notice that if you think about a certain thing or think about a certain set of plans that you have to organize your life or to enrich your life in a particular way, all of a sudden there's a violent set of thoughts that have entered your head, a violent set of parameters that enter your head, or you become sleepy, tired, or lazy. This is by no accident, you see. These are the thought police, let's just say, out there attempting to keep you down. This is the thought police that are out there, you see, that are attempting to keep you down and charging you with a thought crime. There are even beings lurking in your midst out there that consider the growth of human telepathy and psychic skills a crime. So therefore, that is technically the term thought crime. This is a concept that exists for people that want to get their life together, and then all of a sudden they see a lack of abundance. Somehow the money is not there. Somehow the plan falls apart. Somehow their whole life stagnates. This is a form of energy stream that is cut off, very much like crimping a hose. You see, they can't necessarily completely denigrate and completely disintegrate the energy or the thoughts, but they tend to create blockages. And they can create blockages within the self, fears and doubts within the self, or get people to consent and agree to people thinking thy will be done. No, it is your own will be done. You are part of the overall benevolent creator and creator energy. Therefore, you get to determine how you will be done. In this particular instance, you get to determine whether you consent to blockages and consent to particular stagnation, and you get to determine your own life. You are technically God. You are technically true benevolent source creator. There is an overall energy that is watching over, but the overall sense of creator is more neutral. So therefore, the energy can be used, you see. And there is a dark creator out there too, creating the divide between light and dark, making sure that you do not have an overall set of decisions and set of plans in front of you, you see. So therefore, that is another set of thought police where you have an idea that is split between hero and villain, even though there is true evil out there and there are good actions out there. All people are one in those respects. There is overage of evil that is making it possible for you to be divided in thought, but there's also the consent to allow that division in thought. So there is a set of thought police out there that must be revoked, redacted, and denied.
Okay, Isaac, let's spend the final 3 minutes here and enlighten people on how that they can better their lives with all this bombardment in this first 3 months that everybody's gone through. What is some good information to give to people to help them relax and help them live their lives to the fullest during these stressful times?
This is very simple. You fall into what you are passionate about and creative about. If it is this information, by all means pursue it. If it is painting, if it is writing, if it is sports, if it is film, if it is any of these things and more, even if it's scientific pursuits, fall into your passion and fall into your creativity. Once you hit that particular level, you see, once you hit that particular vibratory frequency, yes, do you light up like a beacon? Yes. Will this sometimes attract the different hornets and the flies and let's just say around, very much like a bug lamp? Yes. But those particular bugs, all they'll do is get zapped on your energy field and they won't be able to feed off it. Once you're in that point of non-time and you remain grounded, you must remain grounded at all times. Learn to walk into nature, learn to walk on the earth in your bare feet and under the sun, sometimes with bare skin, as he says. In these instances, and even going to the beach or going into the woods, whatever you're passionate about, remain within that. Remain grounded within that at all times, and you will have no problems, or virtually no problems within these depressing times. And do not allow these other people's thought forms to gaslight you out of that state. Do not allow other people to drag you out of that state of non-time, where time just fades away. Whatever you are passionate about, whatever that you find most interesting, be it, again, this information or some artistic or scientific pursuits, it does not matter. This is a form of enlightenment, everyone. You would call it ascension, but you're already ascended beings that are loaded with blockages and weights, you see. In this, by removing those weights, by not allowing your sovereign space to be invaded, and by not allowing the outward environment to affect you, and keep yourself energetically protected with a shield, be it with stones, also be it from within, and remaining into that point of non-time, you will have no issues.
Well, thank you, Isaac. I appreciate the good information. Very good.
I thank you. These shows are very fun and interesting, and it's about time some have taken place, I might add.
No, I know. About time.
Just giving you a bit of shit there, but
yeah, I know.
But you yourself and he himself also need more of that protective nature around you, therefore also allowing yourselves to fall into that passion. This also stems into that passion. So this is where I will leave this. I thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, he was eager to come in for that one. So, that was interesting. Yeah, I knew what he was going to say. He said other guides have said that before, with falling into the passion. We say that on Interstellar Council all the time as well. And that couldn't be any more true than now. 2020, I always said that was the year of 2020 vision. where people got to see what the overall dark plans were. They got to see what the overall dark plans were. And in 2021, it's the implementation of what you've learned from what you've witnessed in 2020. So that's essentially what's going on. They will only drag this on as long as people tolerate it and put up with it. And I'm not saying an armed revolution that's asinine at this point. You don't want to do that. That's only in extreme defense if there's imminent death right there. That's when the warrior comes out, and that's when you have to fight. But there's a concept called the silent army, where you fall into your passion and transmute the energies around you, therefore changing en masse and in unity the energetics around. Therefore, you're derailing any of their plans that they have in the background to implement any of these Orwellian policies.
Amazing stuff. I suppose we better wrap this episode up. That was a lot of great information.
Yeah, that was a lot of great information. And there's a couple small recordings I did that apply to this topic ahead of time. When I get a download, I have to, do a recording or write it down in some fashion, or else it kind of just drifts. So I have to do it at the time. So I will tack them on to the end of this. But thank you, everyone, for watching this episode. You have entered and now are exiting the conspiracy sector. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. And remember, war is peace, freedom is slavery, and ignorance is strength. Thank you for tuning in, everybody. Join us for the next episode of Conspiracy Sector.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Okay, this was a message from Isaac that said there were messages embedded within Wonder Woman 1984. If you take the message WW84, it wasn't 1984, else you come up with a different number numerologically. I had to figure this out a moment ago. WW84, not only is 84 saying the Orwellian 1984, but numerologically, 8 and 4 is 12. That turns into a 3. WW3, World War III. Yet within 1984, in the movie, which they said it was rampant wishing or jinn entanglement type of thing. And also revoking a wish, revoking expectation, how we have been saying things on Interstellar Council and on revoking that expectation. And also giving power to, sacred feminine. That is a Cabal worship point, is the sacred feminine. But only in cases where they sacrifice the young girls first. But in this, they were giving power and reverence to the sacred feminine. But yet, contradictorily, they sacrifice. So, or giving that power over to the Draco and the Orions. But anyhow, the message was sacred feminine worship, Orwell's 1984, within WW84, that's World War III. So revoking the wish for a third world war, revoking the intent for a civil war, Orwellian type world, and revoking any inclination towards warring with your neighbors, and or becoming Orwell's 1984, where everything is under Big Brother. That's what was being said. Also within the movie, they were talking about Reagan's Star Wars program and how the beams were physically touching people. And this was a prelude to how the 5G is, whereas these waves are physically touching people and altering their genome, such as the 5G. So these were the messages that were embedded in that movie. No matter how you think of that movie, it was disclosure. If you're just looking at some of the surface stuff, it may not make any sense to you. I didn't mind the movie. Some people hated it. Some people loved it. Some people just watched it for Gal Gadot running around in a skimpy costume. But these were the messages that were embedded in that. I've completely figured it out now. That's why you saw hashtag WW84 all the time. If they added 1984 in there, it didn't make any sense. Unless you were thinking of it in the Orwellian fashion. Sometimes they had WW, and under it was 1984. They were trying to say World War within the fashion of Orwell's 1984. And it was a war that was like that versus an outright combat. But they were saying the message was also avoid these outright combative emotions and combative tendencies towards your neighbor for any of the opposing issues that are around now. Mask, no mask, gun, no gun, smoking, no smoking, any of those things we've been talking about, for and against, a chess game. Blue, red. This is what has been said within that, regardless of what you thought of the movie. So I just wanted to get that out there. This is something that this was something Isaac brought together at one point, trying to say what was going on, so people didn't co-create, revoking the wish to have that kind of either Orwellian type of scenario, meaning socialist also, Orwellian type of scenario, or allowing it to happen because of ignorance and lack of sight. It's also what Orwell was warning about. Also the outright war where people are just bombing one another and turning it into Mad Max world. So essentially all of that was all-inclusive in that movie. So I thought I would say that. So it's 11:25 a.m. Tuesday, March 9th, 2021. Thank you. Okay, this is going to be an ender recording to whenever we do the next conspiracy sector on cancel culture. I may have said this in the show at that time too, but I'm time stamping this as well. There's a part of this has to do with all the people apologizing for being white. And I had a dream a couple nights ago where it was set 11 years from now. And I'll date this at the end of the video like I always do, or the audio. Where I was working at a McDonald's with other people in an orientation. And the head guy that was there was a black man wearing a red shirt, with a golden M, and the manager was Asian, Chinese, and the supervisors were either Hispanic, Mexican, or some other mixed race, or black too, and the lowest of the low peons were white people that were totally and completely subservient. They were afraid to speak. And I was called into a back room where the larger black man basically said, "You're fired." And I said, "For what reason?" "Oh, we don't appreciate your racist political views." It's like I'm not a racist, and this is coming from the man wearing a red shirt. And I found that rather comical. Well, set it 11 years from now, I hope to God that isn't the case. Because you can't pendulum swing it. There was another show that was on many, many years ago there was an episode about race sensitivity, how stupid some of it was. If anybody remembers the show Becker, when that was on, with Ted Danson and Terry Farrell. This was after Star Trek Deep Space Nine was on. Terry Farrell had been on that, where he was always mad at people doing stupid things. And there was an Asian man that walked past him that He goes, I wish people like you would learn how to drive and park and all that. And then he gets slapped with a racist lawsuit. Well, he has to get on a radio show to apologize. He goes, I'm doing nothing of the sort. I'm not apologizing. I didn't do anything wrong. This is how people should be reacting to this, putting a stop to it. He said, I didn't mean people like you, or you people meaning race. I mean idiot. So if you don't like it, you can kiss my ass. One of the funniest scenes in the whole show. Can't find it anywhere. And this would fit. Now, another thing, there was a show in '93 called Time Tracks. Dale Midkiff from Pet Sematary, Stephen King's Pet Cemetery, and played a cop that went back in time to catch criminals. Well, it was a parallel timeline type of thing, kind of like Marvel does now. And he was sitting on a bench in Washington, D.C., talking to a friend of his, saying, there's so many stupid laws now, I wouldn't even be able to run for president because I'm white. Or run for political office because I'm white. I don't remember the exact line, but it was along those lines, and it fits today so perfectly. And that's true, that they think by pendulum swinging this, they can correct things. Oh, we have to offset this. Like affirmative action, you have to offset it. Paying people reparations, you have to offset it. No, just stop doing it. Stop talking about it, like Morgan Freeman says. Stop talking about it. You don't have to do this. I had an assistant principal or a vice principal, excuse me, when I was in grade school, Goodrich Middle School in Lincoln, Nebraska, just in case they decided that they were going to redact records and stuff like St. Matthias. St. Matthias did far worse. It was child trafficking, stuff like that. Far worse stuff. Anybody doesn't believe that, I'm sorry. I did my research. I was raised around what was actually going on through my 20 and back. So there. They're trying to pull this out of my head now. They don't want all of this compared. This vice principal, her name was Harris, ironically enough. Last name Harris. I think it was Vicky Harris. I'm not sure. I cannot remember the first name. I just remember calling her Miss Harris. And I was in the lunch line, and there was this Vietnamese kid that kept trying to cut. And I said, no, you can't cut. You have to go to the back of the line. And I get to almost the lunch area where it was a lunchroom that had a one door that went into another back area where the trays were collected, and of course back past that was a giant kitchen, but where the staff was. But almost get there, this Harris pulls me out of line, goes, "How dare you act in a racist fashion against this man? He was just wanting to get in line." I said, I wasn't. He was trying to cut. From your perception point, he was trying to cut. White people do not come first. And she actually said things like this. The minority gets more rights than you here. I will assure it. And I was like, you're acting racist. You get to my office right now. And and it went on in similar threads like that with her. My family thought I was being insubordinate. I said, no, she's racist. And then finally my mother and my father had to make inquiries, and she made no attempt to hide this. And my mother was incensed. She goes, well, what are you doing? You can't do that. Well, no, we have to offset these things because all the racist stuff that went on in the past. She goes, it has no bearing on them now. None. Just stop doing this. And this went on until, of course, I graduated from middle school. But I found it in more recent days. This was I say recent days, but within the past decade or so. She was actually fired for pulling these things. Fired by the school board. Well, this is when they were awake and not woke. Woke is something else. Woke is what's going on right now with this, black privilege, BLM garbage. Yes, do Black Lives Matter? Yes, but all lives matter except racists, bigots, and Nazis. And yes, I said it. The difference between awake and woke. This wokeism stuff. Anyway, Miss Harris would have fell into the woke crowd. And, quote unquote, early bird woke crowd, which is far from awakened. Well, they actually had to have her removed from the building. I never laughed so hard in all my life when I found out that justice was served there. They fired her. They fired anybody that went along with it. There were a couple other people I didn't know about. And I was sent to detention all the time. It's like, you will learn that you have to put these people first. And nobody believed it until they heard it. Family didn't believe it until they actually heard it going on. They caught her. And well, she was proud of it. Like she was doing something righteous. And she was also white, too, on top of that. White Hispanic mix, kind of. But kind of mixed race like Kamala Harris is, but only she seemed to have more of the blonde hair, blue-eyed look, but she had mix in there. Miss Harris did. What happened was, yeah, she had to be removed from the building. She goes, no, I've been doing my right by this for years. I'm not a racist. I've been preventing racism. She actually thought she was preventing racism when she was causing more of it. And that's not true. No, you don't do, they called it by the books, they call it reverse racism. And no, dumb idea. Dumb idea. Just like Morgan Freeman said, stop talking about it. It goes away. I can understand real racism being pissed at that. Stand up to that. The real thing. Real. Emphasis on real, not made up. Also the thing with the historical monuments, leave it alone. Go after the actual racists like the National Alliance, Ku Klux Klan, Nazis, neo-Nazis, skinheads. Those are the actual racists. Leave history alone. And to the neo-Nazi people, leave the black people alone. So you can see, I can differentiate. If I get flack for this recording, I really don't care. It has to be said. And we're going to go probably in more depth, and have by the time you hear this, on conspiracy sector sometime about the woke cancel culture. So this is where I'm going to leave this. And it's also been warned about in the past, as I've said in these shows. But people don't put them together. You don't put sci-fi with sitcom. Nobody compares them. Well, there's a comparison today on this recording. So it's 8:13 a.m. on March the 11th, Thursday, 2021. Thank you.
You once claimed that you have an ability to face unpleasant facts. Is that what you've demonstrated in 1984 by drawing an accurate portrait of the future?
I think that allowing for the book being, after all, a parody, something like 1984 could actually happen. This is the direction the world is going in at the present time. In our world, there will be no emotions except fear, rage, triumph and self-abasement. The sex instinct will be eradicated. We shall abolish the orgasm. There will be no loyalty except loyalty to the party. But always there will be the intoxication of power. Always, at every moment, there will be the thrill of victory, the sensation of trampling on an enemy who is helpless. If you want a picture of the future, imagine a boot stamping on a human face forever. The moral to be drawn from this dangerous nightmare situation is a simple one. Don't let it happen. It depends on you.